Tonight we tackle a couple of contemporary issues. We continue on the Cranston PD squabble. At first is Deflategate. Welcome into my state of mind. I am Dan York. I am kicking the rundown to the side today. I'll tell you why. If you watched the program last night, you have three chances now: 7:30 and 11:30 on MyRI TV, and now on Fox Providence at midnight. And a lot of you are watching that time, so that's good. That's good. We could not get it all in with the Cranston City Councilors last night on the goings-on between the state police and the Cranston mayor regarding the report on police operations. So we continue the conversation, taped yesterday, with those counselors and pick up where we left off. And if you missed anything in the chronology of events, go to foxprovidence.com, where online you can watch the show each and every night. But first, I gotta get my football fix here. And I can't wait to bring Mr. Dondera on for a few minutes. I've only got a few minutes for him because he's a lethal weapon. You got to be careful. After 3 or 4 minutes, all heck breaks loose. But here's what Mr. Kraft was saying yesterday. You've probably seen it already.
It is routine for discipline in the NFL to be reduced upon appeal. In the vast majority of these cases, there is tangible and hard evidence of the infraction for which the discipline is being imposed, and still the initial penalty gets reduced. I was willing to accept the harshest penalty in the history of the NFL for an alleged ball violation because I believed it would help exonerate Tom. I want to apologize to the fans of the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. I was wrong to put my faith in the league.
I don't even know what Mark is going to say. What do you think?
Oh, boy, that's loaded. The first thing I'll tell you.
That's loaded?
Well, my thoughts are, I want to say, first of all, that Deflategate has turned into an absolute American embarrassment. Mm-hmm. This whole thing is out of control, way out of control. This could have been squashed 6+ months ago. Squashed, done by the NFL. And that's how it should have been. And that's what should have happened. But it didn't. And now, here we are in July.
What should the NFL have done 6 months ago?
The NFL 6 months ago should have done this. When they got the initial email, phone call, whatever it was from the Colts, okay, you get on the phone. You call the Patriots. You talk to important people. Kraft, Belichick. You say, here's what we're hearing. Okay? Once you hear that, or once you do that, you're covered. You've told the Patriots what you're hearing. You protect the integrity of the game.
I get it. You know what? I think, and I have no quarrel. You're probably right. But long-time relationships, hurt feelings, embarrassments, Belichick's history, all of that, they didn't. So, what next?
They got to end this. They got to find a way to end this.
Tom Brady's got to end it. You know what? I think you're going to tell me that the Patriots and Tom Brady have been kind of hammered in this deal, right? Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think the league is completely, off its rocker on this. But you know what? That league is not, even in the federal court, is not going to allow itself to become ripped to shreds in this particular. This thing is going to be the ugliest argument over a non-starter in the history of the world, never mind sports. And Tom Brady and Bob Kraft have finally found. Did you read Jason Whitlock's column yet?
Well, I didn't. I saw it.
He talks about how. Welcome to the criminal justice system for those who don't get a fair shake. I don't think the Patriots have gotten a fair shake, but at the same time, you got to know how to hold them and fold them. Take a couple games and run. That's my last thought. You have the floor for the next minute and a half.
Okay, that's fine, and I don't disagree totally. I think the NFL started this when it didn't need to. I think they escalated this when they certainly didn't need to. However, since the Patriots got into the fight, I don't think they've made all the right plays either. They've made plenty of mistakes, including Tom Brady. If you want to say that you think Brady needs to end it, fine. He does need to end it because this needs to be in the past, and we need to focus on football. We as in Tom Brady, we as in me and Yanni, we as in everybody, because we've had it with this. But, at the same time, if he really believes he didn't do anything wrong, what is he supposed to admit that he did do something wrong when he didn't, just to end it? That's tough to swallow.
I think there's a little bit of truth in everybody's perspective here. You don't think he had a notion as to the guys trying to help him out for his preference for a softer football? Come on. But is it the end of the world? No. If he had said, geez, you know what, I might have stretched the rules, I apologize, sorry, it would have been over then.
Yeah.
But anyway, When this whole thing rolls out, you got to come back when we've got more time. But I agree, this whole thing is out of control. By the way, those 4 games, if they end up, because the federal courts don't speed, if they end up in November, December, then what's everybody going to say?
That would be huge. It would be huge. If he gets 4 games and they don't have him for 4 games, it's huge for the Patriots. And you know, Jimmy Garoppolo, we don't know. He looks okay. We'll see if he plays in the regular season. But that would be huge for the Patriots. And but this has to end. 4 games, no games. This has to end, and we have to get back to football and focusing on football, not footballs.
So he and Yanni can get back to work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. I love you too. Cranston, the PD scandal, next. So if you recall, last night we just couldn't get to it all in a couple of segments with the councilors from Cranston who really were victimized in their elected roles, and their constituents were victimized by, you know, a parking ticket blitz back in November of 2013, which began the saga of a state police investigation into the Cranston Police Department. The details and the chronology of it we're not going to repeat from last night. If you missed last night's show, how dare you? Go to foxprovidence.com online and watch it. But here's the headline-ish that this is actually a Wednesday headline. Might even be Tuesday. Fung accused of interference. It's Mayor Fung, and of course he showed up at a city council meeting on Monday of this week and more or less, you know, threw himself on a fake sword.
These structural problems didn't start with my administration. In fact, they are decades old. I did not create these problems, but one thing I will do, I will take ownership of fixing them.
You know, Steve Stikos and Paul Arquette are here, and they are the councilmen that were the original victims. You got to laugh. We talked about this last night a little bit, but you got to laugh. The guy's been around how long?
6 years.
6 years. Did everyone kind of just chuckle when he said that, or just give him the respect to kind of just say, all right, whatever?
Hard to believe.
That doesn't make any sense. And of course, Alan Fung is always welcome here to respond to this conversation, my questions, and like. But we last left the conversation as we nibbled at the state police letter, a 4-page letter that the council got simultaneous with the mayor from Colonel O'Donnell, reflecting on what's contained in a larger report, somewhere between maybe 200 and 300 pages, depending on who you talk to, that goes into deep detail on a handful of stories that reflect on, paraphrase, meddling, right, by the Fung administration. We'll get to that, but let me just ask you this. The thing that caused all of this thing to go, uh-oh, is the Captain Antonucci Ticketgate thing. He got a deal to be done. He got his backed up sick pay, everything else that wraps around to April of next year, and then he gets to retire.
20 years.
You guys good with that?
No. No, I mean, he also, don't forget he gets family health insurance from now, when he's 43, until he's 65, unless he gets another job. So we're going to pay the pension and the health insurance.
What did you want to see happen?
I think I'm quoted in the paper that because he was a probationary captain at the time, he wasn't a full-fledged captain. His act of insubordination, his arbitrarily, and he said he ordered the ticket. He's on record as saying that if I were the mayor, he would have been called in my office. I would have busted him to lieutenant, suspension 3 or 4 weeks, and letter of reprimand and move on. That's how I would have handled the situation. Now, in learning of all these other issues that were going on there that I'm aware of today, perhaps termination would have been the decision.
Well, the one thing that is glaring, and people may not pay attention to, is that Captain Antonucci is the head of the police union. And so he's negotiating, and he's deeply involved, and he's personally involved in the collective bargaining process. When you two guys vote no from the Finance Committee, and he acts out and orders the blitz, it shows that he was way too involved with both his captain role and union leader role. And I am guessing it does not end there, that the relationship, the political relationship, the family political relationship, and they have every right to support a candidate for mayor, but they were inextricably linked with Alan Fung financially, on a commiserative basis, campaign help for a long time. Those red flags never went up, or yellow flags never went up with the mayor. That's a systemic problem, don't you think?
Well, like I said, the money in the contract was loaded to the top levels. So Captain Antonucci was going to get an $8,000 raise in that contract, where the patrolmen who were out, beating the bushes to protect the citizens were going to get much less.
Well, I'm not ready to accuse, are you, Captain Antonucci, of negotiating a deal for himself within the police contract? But you're, I don't know, maybe you are saying that.
Well, I think there are 5 captains, is that right? Yeah.
5 or 6.
So, and there was a lot of dissent in the police union to the contract, largely because of that.
But my question is, if there's this bond between Captain Antonucci and Mayor Fung, which is proven by the secret backroom deal, that he literally salvaged Antonucci from termination, because Attorney Ragusta won every litigation deliberation along the way.
City's labor attorney.
City's labor attorney. We were on the 2-yard line to score a touchdown for Antonucci to get terminated, and Fung creates this backroom deal to salvage Antonucci's 20 years, give him this golden parachute. Now, can Alan Fung negotiate a contract with Union President Stephen Antonucci if they have this bonding relationship? Can he negotiate a contract in full faith?
Well, I think the state police letter from the colonel kind of points to this very, very close relationship. The colonel also points out in this letter about the timeline of this deal with Captain Antonucci. It was done in September of last year and kept quiet until November. Who was running for governor at the time, right?
Right. And if you're Stephen Antonucci and you know the mayor has promised to bring you back on the police force, you're going to just keep pushing the legal process. I mean, because you've got an ally on your side who is in charge of the city.
All right, so Captain Antonucci has a pension deal forever. I doubt that it'll be ever reversed. I don't think that'll be revisited. Do you? I think that deal's done. It's a legal agreement. He gets away and can start his life. Good luck to him. Made a bad mistake. I understand he's not a bad cop, but he even admits that wasn't his best day. And what are you going to do? But the idea that deal came together should be horrifying to the taxpayers, and I know it's horrifying to you guys. I don't know what you learned from that specific episode. What do you learn from that specific episode?
Well, I think one thing we learn is that the law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights needs to be changed, and it was
because his hearings were in private.
The hearings are private, and because what Stephen Antonucci was able to do was delay the process and have the power to delay it further so that he could retire. So what it looks like is if you're a police officer and you have, say, 18 years service, you can make it to 20 years without getting fired by just delaying this whole process, which is, as you said, secret. And we only know as much as we do know about this because Stephen Antonucci came out and defended himself in the press, and the law says that the city doesn't have to be quiet about the case if the officer speaks publicly.
Right. So the Antonucci chapter is over, but it was the catalyst to a state police investigation that the mayor asked for. We talked about it last night with these two gentlemen about how really the council was asking for it, but he kind of beat him to the punch. Strategery, I think that's what George Bush used to call it. When we come back, what happens next? Does the Attorney General give the advice to the mayor that he ought to release the report? Stay with us. Following the saga of this Cranston situation with the police and a state police report about to be issued, has been issued, possibly to be released to the public, following up on the Captain Antonucci story. And again, if you missed anything on the show without going backwards, foxprovidence.com with our two counselors from Cranston. One of the reasons why the mayor made that deal with Captain Antonucci is because the meter was running on the city, but not on Antonucci. Correct? So that was... Yep. And so he's saying, listen, we cut our losses. This could have been even more money for us. And, you guys are fiduciary agents. You buy that? Do you buy that argument?
Well, I think it does have some legitimacy, but if he had been fired, he would not be collecting health insurance for 22 years for his family.
And not be paid all that administrative leave money either.
Right.
So, we'll
All
save
right.
them.
So we'll leave that there. So we stand right now with the city of Cranston. Again, Jesse, if you can show that letter, just to pop that up. This letter was sent both to Mayor Fung and to the council. It gives kind of the Cliff's Notes, if you will, on what might be contained in this larger report. The mayor sent it to the Attorney General's office to say, hey, what do you think? There's a lot of private stuff in here, you know, and I want to protect people. What's your gut say about what the Attorney General may or may not do?
I don't know.
I'm not going to.
I really don't know what he's going to do.
What do you want him to do?
Well, I'd like him to say, yes, the whole thing needs to be public. It's a public report.
Well, first of all, from the summary and from the AG, we know that there's not enough probable cause to prosecute anyone criminally. So that's already been the standard.
With what's in the report.
With what's in the report. I also would like the entire report offered to the public. I think they have the right to know. They flipped the bill, $500,000 to citizens of the state of Rhode Island. But during the investigation, Dan, the level of cooperation between the state police and the city's administration, term used in that report is strained. So there wasn't very much cooperation from the Fung camp.
In fact, the colonel was requesting, and there you see Captain Antonucci, who was at the beginning of all this, but the colonel was requesting an original report when Mayor Fung first came into office to set a foundation, and he never coughed it up.
Never did. The Parry assessment of 2008.
Yeah, so that's a frustration that the colonel expressed. This is an extraordinary letter. I would recommend you go to the WPRI website, the WPRO website, whatever website, news website you can go to, and read this report. Don't you find it extraordinary?
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
In what sense for you?
Well, that the state police are saying that there was political interference in the police department, that there was this allegations of this real cozy relationship between the mayor, Stephen Antonucci, and the police chief, Marco Palumbo. And there's a whole, this isn't just one event, the ticketing thing. There's a whole list of, you'd think we would know what was listed here. There are items that are listed I never even heard of until I read this.
You mean sagas?
Sagas, yeah, events.
Well, even the Captain Catalano thing. I mean, that poor guy was on the lam for 2 years, more or less bludgeoned in a process that Colonel Palumbo started against him, and the next colonel from the state police says, "This is a good guy, but get him back on the job because he was on the lam getting paid." There's no doubt in my mind that Mayor Fung is engaged in that process and hasn't said much publicly about it, right? So that is going to be completely exposed. While the U.S. Attorney and the Attorney General have not picked a criminal fertile ground here, there's nothing in this letter from the Colonel about the report that says that they couldn't if further information develops from the report being issued. So I don't know that anybody's completely out of the woods in terms of malfeasance. But you got to see the report.
Right.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to make speeches. You're my guest. Are the people buzzing in Cranston about this? Or is it the middle of summer and people go, what the hell?
I was at the donut shop getting a coffee, and a couple of people said they were very surprised at the mayor. They thought he was a real nice guy, and now they perceive him as being a sneak. That was the term they used, a sneak.
What's your pulse?
Yeah, I'm getting emails and comments of just disgust that these things are going on.
But the thing
so
is they don't know what the things are. That's
right.
the thing.
Well,
if you don't know, I mean, that the police would say, the state police would say, there's all this stuff that you can read about in my report, good luck. You got to know what the stuff is before you have an opinion on it.
Right.
I would think that at least minimally a redacted version of this report has got to be issued. Mayor Fung has more or less suggested that it's water under the bridge, it's a lesson learned, and let's move forward. Will that be the rule of the day? What's your prediction as to where he ends up in this whole situation?
Well, I can't predict where he'll end up.
Or the city, or whatever.
I think we're painfully and slowly getting the police department straightened out. Colonel Winquist was a major step forward. The number 2 and number 3 that were hired, Major Quirk and Major Padalano. The city council has attempted to get some more police cars. So I think we're headed in the right direction, and it's just really slow and painful.
I think once the full report is revealed, that I would be of the opinion to have the council have its own investigation to reveal what actually transpired in these different sagas. That would be my move.
You don't think the state police investigation will suffice? I mean, at some point, Paul, you got to say, like, enough. It seems to me, unless new information comes down.
That's my point.
My instinct is that the state police and the feds are poised to continue to act if they find that the report brings more. If it doesn't, if it ends and punctuates there, it's a saga of management practices learned and a political price to pay. Already Alan Fung is probably defunct in terms of a statewide political career. I mean, this will come up perpetually. Ken Block's probably chewing on a napkin right now over the idea that this stuff had come up during his primary season. And the very idea that this Antonucci deal was done and hid, I think, is enough to say the politics got in front of serving the people, at least on that one saga. That's my take. Yours?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I think the report has merit, and you're right, the state police did an excellent job, but between the council and the administration, every time we ask a question, we never get a straight answer, and on occasion they out and out lie. And give the
on
example.
This issue or everything?
Give your example, what you talked about, Antonucci, with the paid leave. And
Well, I asked the other night if while he was using up his leave, if he was going to be accumulating more benefits, like more vacation pay and more sick time. And I was told, no, he's not. And it's right in the agreement. It says that he accumulates additional benefits according to the union contract
and I'll give
while
you
he's
a
out
case.
on leave.
I asked Evan Kirschenbaum, the city solicitor, why wasn't this 2008 report turned over to the state police? And his response was there was no documentation. It was an oral.
Well, we'll bring you guys back after the report is issued in some way, shape, or form. My prediction is it's got to have some public airing. It's got to, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll keep the conversation there. We won't talk about recalls. By the way, is there a recall provision?
There is a recall provision. Yes.
I think we should keep our powder dry and be fair to the process until such time as that report is issued.
There's no impeachment provision in the charter, but there is a recall.
Recall. You guys can't throw them out, but the people can. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right? You seem very docile about this. You're a quiet guy anyway. But you seem very down about this.
Well,
what's your final thought?
I don't have any. It's so hard to make a judgment without information.
Right.
And you don't want to prejudge the situation.
Right.
But every indication is that this is just a disgrace. But I haven't seen the report.
Right. We'll see. Attorney General, sir, it's your play. We'll be right back. So the Attorney General's office says they will work on that state police decision, making that report public for Cranston in the course of normal business. I have no idea what that means. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow at noon on WPRO. We're on the air every day till 3. And back here tomorrow night, we'll talk about the Caitlyn Jenner